Dear Diary, I wish I had a friend to play with forever and ever and ever and ever.
Hey, how's everybody doing? Hopefully my mic's coming through. I'm Mike, the new guy at Even Footing Games. I help here and there and help manage the streams and do some of those stuff. And I do the daily stream at 1 p.m. afternoon decaf with Mike.
And I am Jimmy St. James, the systems coordinator, tech number guru, also chill guy at Even Footing Games.
And Jimmy, tell everybody what Even Footing Games does.
We are a collective of like-minded individuals who have all come together, who have to build this thing, this amalgamation of moving parts that makes games, because we all dabbled and we all have been with companies and we've all written and we've all produced, made art and made all these things in the tabletop community for years. We just decided to do it together and made this little game called Babies and Broadswords.
Yes.
Now we're making some other little games, developing our system, which is now lovingly referred to as the potential system. From Even Footing Games, and we have new projects in the works. We're supporting Babies and Broadswords with even more fabulous content. Mike, will you tell me what kind of content we have coming up this
Yes,
fall?
I'm excited for it this fall, coming out 2022, and y'all saw it. If you was lucky enough to catch the beginning, is the Crawl of Cthulhu. We're going to be talking about a bit of the Crawl of Cthulhu today. We'll
That
go
laugh,
in,
man. That
and
little
just
laugh at the beginning,
yeah,
it gives me the creeps.
it's creepy. Oh well, that's what it is, man. It's Crawl of Cthulhu. It's creepy. It's fun. It's relaxed. Okay, you can't say creepy and relaxing in the same sentence. It's fun
It's
and
fun.
and creepy. It's fun and creepy, but I'm
Entertaining.
really looking forward to that. I've got to see some of the wonderful artwork done on that. It's very witty, well written. That will be available soon. What we have available now is the Babies and Broadswords. You can find that at drivethroughrpg.com as well as amazon.com. And hey, you can get a physical copy, a book in your hand of Babies and Broadswords right now, amazon.com. As well
Not
as they
only that, not only there's even more.
at Drive Through RPG. Yeah, we got 100 Acre Heist.
That's
It
the
is
one.
is a literary Babies and Broadsword adventure based on the works or the Winnie the Pooh original book. It is super fun. And Babies and Broadsword, I want to talk about it just for a little bit, not to toot our own horn. But if it's a wonderful comedic. I hate using the word comedy. It's relaxing to me. It's not the gritty grime. You know, after you've slayed dragons and you're covered in blood and viscera, and you want to have a fun. Laid back time. Babies and Broadswords is where it's at, as well as if you got young ones that are interested in the opening up their imagination to the world of TTRPGs, Babies and Broadswords is a great start. So,
I couldn't agree more. And you talked about some of that wonderful art that's pervasive through the Babies and Broadswords book, as well as the 100 Acre Heist. On now, it's coming. It's going to bleed into this Halloween season. We have even more great artists joining the team. We have with us today a very special guest, our first guest here on Systems
overload.
Overload. We have with us today Mr. Jack Brabson. He is
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
art director.
yeah, he'll be joining us very soon, and we're going to be talking about GMing podcasts with him. So, are we going to talk more about Crawl of Cthulhu?
Well, I think that I'm super excited for Crawl because we are talking about doing the podcast,
Yes.
playing in that game, GMing that game. We just started recording for the Crawl of Cthulhu. The whole month of October, we're going to bring you more babies and broadswords, and it will be based on the Crawl of Cthulhu. It's not going to be the same adventure that's in the book. There's a whole
Yes. Oh, well, yeah. Of
other
course.
adventure
Yeah.
that you can listen to hear some of the things that are featured in Crawl of Cthulhu. And I will be playing the Rehaminator, which is it's actually a Patreon exclusive.
Oh, nice.
Which is so if you're into that sort of thing, you could always come check us out and see some of the interesting things we make for our Patreon folks who take such good care of us month after month. Thank you so much. I will be honored to present to you my version of the Rehaminator over the coming month.
What are the other? While we're talking about a little bit, what are some of the other characters?
There's a pots and pans kid. He's a kid that just bangs on pots and pans. And I can't remember the other one. I don't remember if we have the other one represented in the podcast. I know those two are though.
Those are from the Crawl of Cthulhu book that's coming out.
The pots and pans kid is
and the Rehaminator. I love the
Rehaminator is from that's a Patreon exclusive. Patreon folks only get that.
Well, yeah, and we would love to have anyone as a Patreon. And another thing that you could do for us is there is a link down at the bottom. It's unclickable. And the Discord links are really a pain in the butt, but it is there. Join our Discord. We'd love to have you on there. You talk to everybody who's really friendly. You can get together and get in a game, and you'll be able to find out news, what's coming up, and learn a lot more about even footing games. And I'm looking forward to this podcast. What is the I think I heard the it's going. I don't want to say a date. We get chastised when we say.
Oh, the podcast. We do have a date for the new season. So
I heard
right
a date today, but I don't know if that's the right one.
Right now, they are wrapping up. I'm not involved in the podcast. Jack is GMing that. That's why we have him on the show.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, so, I'm talking about the new podcast.
Yeah.
The Crawl.
Yeah, but they're wrapping that season up. There's a couple more episodes still coming out, and I think they've just almost finished recording it. And so once those episodes are finished for the Avatar Legends game, where they play not only the Avatar Legends system, but then they switch over about midway through and go into Cortex Prime and explore that system as well. We love exploring new systems here at Even Footing Games, and Jack is an amazing GM to be able to do that, just switch midstream and be in a totally different boat. Pretty cool.
Yeah. But so coming up this fall, you'll be able to find those podcasts anywhere you listen to podcasts. They'll be on our YouTube channel. Find us, follow us on social media. We definitely would love to interact with you. So speaking of Jack, let's go ahead and kind of get into the meat and potatoes. I'm going to bring him in the studio.
Without further ado, Mr. Jack Brabson.
Wow, this studio looks just like my office.
Your studio does look just like your office.
It's
that is crazy.
The power of we live in the future. It's the future. So.
Well, future's always good to, toy around with. Can't always be fantasy.
Jack, tell us a little bit about yourself. What you do at Even Footing Games?
Hey, I'm Jack Brabson. I am the current art director at Even Footing Games. Pretty much, I do a lot of the art for Babies and Broadswords, as well as some of our other projects, as well as coordinate with the other artists to make sure that we're all on the same page. Which you'll definitely be seeing a lot of that with Crawl of Cthulhu, because we had a certain color scheme in mind, and we all brought our own styles to it, but there's definitely some like harmonizing of
yes.
aesthetics.
man.
Most definitely.
It
Most
is
definitely.
really cool. I
it
am
is
loving
cool.
the art that's coming out.
Also, in season 1 of the podcast, I played Thwompkins, Gargoyle Barbabian, which then ended up switching over to Mommy's Little Helper.
Yeah, that's right.
All
I
about
forgot
them
you
hugs. And
yeah.
in season 2, that's currently airing, I am what I like to call the lore bender. I am the GM. And like you just mentioned, we are wrapping that up. Well, I mean, we recorded the finale already, so,
Just putting the
it's-
finishing touches and post production on that
Yes,
for your
yes,
listening
yes.
pleasure.
Oh, yeah. And it's going to be an interesting finale. It's probably not your typical finale from a tabletop RPG. No spoilers.
Interesting.
Yeah,
I
I'm
can't wait
looking
to
forward
hear
to
it.
listening to it. Yeah, yeah.
That's awesome. That's why we brought you here today, because there are certain expectations on the games that we do online that sometimes aren't exactly the same as things at home. So sometimes we have to meet time frames. Sometimes you're playing with people that you don't know. Like at your home games, you're playing with your buddies. Sometimes it'll be brand new people
Yep.
you've never met before. We're here to talk about some of the things you've experienced. From your time doing these type of things,
Sure.
as entertainment as well as for fun.
Sure.
Yeah. It's not only just in the digital realm, but actually producing something for an audience. It's not just running it for buddies and whatnot. It's actually putting something out there for people to consume.
Oh, of course. And that's definitely been an interesting thing for me with this current season. This season is the first time I GM'd for a podcast. So it's definitely been it's been an interesting learning experience, and I'm hoping that my A game is worthy of listening to. So
I think it is.
well, thank you. Because it's definitely different, especially since we switched systems. But like Jimmy mentioned, I kind of have a weird knack for being able to switch systems and yet still keep the general theme and feel. Which that's we'll go into that a little bit later. But just to give it real quick, I've been doing tabletop since like mid 90s. Started off with Rifts and Palladium, and started Dungeons and Dragons in 3rd edition in like 2000 2001, and started DMing around that time too. So I've been DMing for probably 20 plus years. And it's been interesting making that weird jump to not only having to do like in mind for a listening audience besides just my players, but also doing the time constraint has probably been like the hardest thing for me.
Okay, yeah, and that makes sense. Actually, I was able to, and I have very limited GMing experience, but we did some one shots where it was the time fitting everything into 2 hours for myself, especially as a newbie, was tough. So.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting to try to wrap up certain things so quickly, because I'm used to at least like 3-hour sessions, usually minimum. And this time been getting like a little over an hour to 2 hours. Finale was a little over 2 hours, but again, this is without editing.
Yeah.
With editing, of course, that time greatly narrows down. It's just like I said, it's just trying to sum up so much and to make sure that the episode hits a satisfying beginning, middle, and end, and to make sure it ends on a good like point to bring over to the next episode, and to get people like tantalized for the next thing to happen has been a fun challenge.
Yeah, that's one of the cool things I find in doing these type of things is a lot of our general talents, just being a GM, translate very well into episodic adventures, because you already are hoping that you can end on a really nice note and keep your players.
Oh,
But
yeah.
now you're not just keeping your players entertained, you're keeping the whole world who's listening, all the millions of fans we have, all entertained as well.
Yeah, because I mean, the whole idea is that I like for people to, let's say they come in mid-season or whatnot, to be able to at least hear hear the starts of what's going on in the middle of things and be entertained enough and be intrigued enough to start at the beginning of the season. And start over at the beginning. And that's why we try to do like the the last time on and whatnot.
Oh,
and
yeah.
try to keep things relevant that way. And again, try to have it so things usually come to a conclusion. An episode usually comes to a conclusion. Again, add like a cliffhanger or something to at least like latch onto. So that way, when I start up the next episode, it starts in the middle of like maybe something happening or the reactions and stuff like that. Which, go ahead.
Yeah, that seems like a very good approach to, especially something that is episodic, ongoing. Even maybe ending right before a combat is going to get those listeners to come back next week.
Well, it's funny you mentioned combat, considering the situation we had season 2 for combat, where I was promising it for so many episodes, and it took like a good 4 episodes, I believe. It came.
I just heard combat like maybe an episode or 2 ago. I'm not completely caught up. I think you just switched.
We just switched to Cortex, which should have been like an episode or 2 after the combat, because one of the reasons why in chat we're kind of more for story and when combat when necessary, but I really wanted to show off the Avatar combat system because that's kind of what really makes it unique as a Powered by the Apocalypse game.
Yeah,
truly.
So it's Avatar and combat's kind of like a big thing.
Oh yeah, those go hand in hand. I mean, if you watch the show, I mean, it's about more than just combat, but that's a huge part of the at least for me, that's a huge part of the draw.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of like the aspect of that, when it's, I mean, even with combat in Avatar, it's not like Dungeons and Dragons or some other tabletops where it's usually deadly, or at least done out of maybe you got some murder hobos or something like that, or people just like, hey, I just want to fight stuff. You know, I'm the gruff
bad guys are dying. That's what's happening.
Yeah. Like I want to roll some dice. Sometimes is the thing.
And Avatar is not like that at all. Like the combat's supposed to go with like the emotional journey that your characters are going through, and I wanted to make sure that was shown. That was why we waited until after combat to switch to Cortex. Which the switch to Cortex was an interesting one because the combat was kind of like the linchpin of we focus more on story. And Avatar, again, what made Avatar unique was the combat. And we were like, hey, but combat's not really our thing. It's interesting. It's cool.
Oh, yeah.
So that was when it was pitched to do Cortex, which is more focused on the narrative, more making sure you're telling a good story, and which we utilize the best we can for the rest of the series. And again, I tried to keep that tone. I pretty much Cortex is a really malleable system where you can mold it very easily. It's got a lot of mods and stuff. And it's just I took a lot from Avatar and brought it into Cortex to try to keep the momentum going and to keep the feel and the theme. Yeah. And our players picked it up pretty easily. It's pretty straightforward.
Yeah. I mean, and again, I implore everybody to take a listen to the season 2 stuff. It's really good. I like the people. The cast is wonderful. And they're all nice people. I've been able to talk to them via Discord. Discord. So
we're all such close friends on Discord, like a little family.
But yeah, I mean, the cast is great. The story's good. All in all, it's a very enjoyable experience. About how do you do things differently than you would as far? Let me see. How am I going to put this?
How do I do it differently for home versus
yes,
podcast?
Exactly. There you go. I don't even need to be here.
Well, again, the main thing for me, I knew what you're getting at. I know what you're getting at. And one of the big things is, again, the time constraint. And part of the thing for me is that I didn't do too much all that different, because I'm a very narrative GM as a whole anyway. And I really feel like that if my players are invested in having fun, that it will be a good experience, hopefully, to listen to. Because when you have players who are excited and having fun, it's infectious.
Yes.
Like, just having
100%.
If you ever hear like an AP podcast or something where it's just like, kind of humdrum, where the character, they're not really getting too excited. They're not really like, getting too into it. It's not fun to listen to. But yes, I do see in the chat, Way is a fun one. Definitely love Way. Oh, Way.
Oh, Way.
Oh, Way.
You.
But it's, again, the main difference for me is, again, that time constraint.
Gotcha.
And making sure that I'm hitting all the buttons at a more concise and compact way. As for the general layout of planning the episodes, that's the fun thing with me, and this is why I say it's not that different. But that it harkens to my GMing style. I'm a very pull things out of my rear end GM. Like, I'll have general concepts, but then I base everything off of what the players are doing. Where if I see like the players are really intrigued by something, even if I didn't have it planned, with this sort of way, I can just latch on to what they're doing rather than trying to steer them into any certain way.
And that is a valuable talent to have as a GM. And I'm saying this again, on the newbie side, I have probably hours in the GM chair, less than 30 total lifetime. I'm a player, man. I like to.
I've been in over half of those hours.
Yeah. And what I was trying to do is do the rigid, I'm running this scenario. This is the way the story's supposed to go. And that was, I found that that it didn't work out for me. So I like to be able to play in games with people like you and Jim as well, where you get the like the base concepts, but you're able to improv or pull those things out, and it ends up telling a very compelling story, not necessarily a story that was written for you to play through, but it's actually a story that you and your characters are able to craft together. That's what I like about the TTRPG stuff and the non snary. What do they call them? Modules or something?
Yeah, modules.
I'm talking about Stratas. I'm talking about.
Oh God, I am not good at running a module. Like I got a group that can attest to this. Actually, I think some of them are actually in the chat. I give up very quickly on running modules. It's just I very much like try to latch on to what the characters are about, what their deals are, what they're feeling, what the characters' motivations are, and I try to base a lot of things off of that. So when I'm just like, oh, go into this room, here is this, I'm like, it doesn't work for me too well. That's kind of why I like the ones that Jason is writing for Babies and Broadswords, because they're actually pretty open. He does that very well.
Yeah.
Like as I was doing a lot of the art, so I was reading a lot of stuff, ahead of time. They're really open. He gives like a lot of like room to have fun with that stuff. But going back to like what you were talking about with like, trying to tell like, like you have an idea for a story. One thing that I think is one thing to keep in mind is that try to think of what you want your players to feel, what you want their characters to experience, rather than so much thinking of the events.
Yes. Gotcha.
Feel like, okay, I am trying to invoke a horror sort of situation where I'm trying to make sure that they are fighting for their lives and they are, running on the lab, and, a wrong turn could lead to, destruction. And you worry about that rather than the actual events.
Gotcha. Yeah,
and you try to focus on the players.
Yeah, and it's just at least for me, and I can only speak for myself. I mean, I'm sitting here with probably 40 plus years combined GM, DM, storyteller, narrator, the thousands of words that the TTRPG universe has come up with for the host of the games. So with me as a newbie, that's what I some of the things, and being able to get that advice is a wonderful thing. But I think we're going off topic.
I think it's
Well, I
closer
mean,
to
yes and
50
no.
something, because I got 34 years myself.
Yeah.
Jack's well over 20, I think.
Yeah,
So-
and I latch onto a bunch of different systems and whatnot. So it depends on personal experience and GMing style, and just as long as your players are cool with both, you can do whatever. There are some players who like to be on a guided journey.
Oh yeah.
Well,
There's those players that really want to do the hack and slash.
Yeah.
Hey, I want to roll dice. Let's do the what is it? It's called a Monster of the Week kind of.
Oh yeah.
I'm here to play. Let's fight something. Kind of thing.
Not to be confused with the game Monster of the Week.
Oh, I was
Very different.
Yeah, I
Different but the same.
apologize. Yeah, I
different but the same.
I was unaware that there was an actual thing out there. But it's what it is. It's a, okay. We'll call it Encounter of the Week kind of thing. It's like you go and you fight
Xena
something.
Warrior Princess.
Personally, and I've played played either in a game with you or as a player in both of your games, and me, I can go the whole. I don't need combat either. I'm just cool with the role play and hanging out. We are like some of the most in another game I play. We're some of the most peaceful role playing vampires ever was existed.
And then yet I'm thinking of the game that us three were players in,
Yes.
with Blades in the Dark, where we are destructive forces of nature.
Well, yeah, that we.
Everything.
Did,
Yeah.
but
Everything.
one of our good friends ran that, and it was one of Charlie, and he's really good, and it was nice
He
because
rolled with all
he's
our
newer,
punches.
and boy, he snapped right in there. He did a great job. That was a fun game. I really enjoyed that.
It just really again
Gloves off
depends.
a little bit.
Yeah, it really depends on the style and what kind of game you are expecting. With Blades in the Dark, yeah, you're supposed to be criminals and and unscrupulous. You're supposed to be all these like nasty things because that's the world you live in. And that's when like that's the thing too. Also, going back to the original topic with GMing for a podcast, is you also have to keep in mind of, as the GM, what kind of story do you want to present to the audience? And because now you're not only presenting to your crew, but you're presenting to your audience. And with even footing games, we tend to just actually character-driven stories, not necessarily ones that center around combat or anything like that. And so I was trying to keep that in mind too. Telenovela, I see the comment. We talked about that during the during the table talks. We'll maybe get to that, but yeah, I mean that's why a lot of our season 2 is a lot of the character interactions, the character relationships, the shipping. Oh, there's so much shipping.
Yes,
So much shipping. It's weird.
So much shipping.
I get to listen to them a little bit ahead of time because I help do some of the audio on it. So yeah,
Which thank you for making me sound good.
It's not difficult, and you got everybody is on their toes, and I like the professionalism, I guess you would call it. Everybody's there and realize that they're going to be making a podcast, and they're in it to win it, as it were.
Oh, and another thing I gotta add about what I have to do a little differently is the energy. I gotta have a totally different type of energy when doing the podcast. The crew will tell you, I gotta get prepped. I gotta bounce up and down and shake it out, and before I can even hit that good morning, good afternoon, good evening, legendary podlers. I have to have that energy right out the gate. When at a home game, I can kind of lead into it.
Ramp it up, yeah.
Okay, he went from Avatar to Rocky over there.
Yeah.
You gotta get hyped up, man.
Yeah. As someone who's actually climbed up those steps many times, that's not easy.
Oh goodness, no. I need an escalator, I believe.
No, the Philadelphia Art Museum. So that was not easy. But yeah, so that's like another thing is like the energy you have to bring as a GM, because the energy tells everything. Like if you get a GM who's just like, yeah, you got that thing in front of you, and yeah, it wants to kill you. And also there's the showmanship. Like I always do voices. I always like, I've been told the NPCs and stuff like that are my strengths. So that's why when season 2, I had to make the village like a character in itself, and the Spoggy Bomb Swamp. I had to make that its own character.
That's so good, man.
Like I had to do that accent, and I absolutely love doing that accent, which I get to have some more fun in upcoming episodes that were already recorded with voices, where I get to play canonical characters. I won't say who, but I get to play characters that actually were shown on the screen on your TV.
There's
some
a little
legends, Avatar legends.
Yeah.
That's like that hook. It's like you can't miss it, man. Jack Brabson as
Bleep.
somebody.
I believe.
So I do have a question, and this is for both of you, and this is basically hypothetical. It goes back to doing the podcast. We know that there are podcasts out there that are in person, live, filmed, kind of, the production is high, but it's live. If you had a druther, that sounds terrible. If you had a preference, would it be a filmed live in-person game, or do you like the what do you prefer, that or via the internet?
Jimmy, you can go first. Oh, that way.
I like both a lot. I've done live Twitch shows a whole season, I think 26 episodes, and I love doing it live because it's pretty cool knowing that people are coming in and watching, knowing that a lot of those people aren't your buddies, and I don't know, it helps give me energy to keep that game moving when I'm doing it live. It's like I guess I just respond that way to pressure. That as a GM, I really like that. I think as a player, I could go either way. It matters very little. And as a GM, honestly, I also I don't mind doing it recorded and doing it that way either.
No. I think you misunderstood. Imagine that it would be recorded. The hypothetical is an in-person game that is camera videotaped versus playing on over the internet. So this would be sitting around a table.
Misunderstood. I would love that.
Okay, man, you had a big old explanation for the other one. Tell me why you would love that.
It's just more of the same. That I enjoy that type of pressure. From being in a band back in the day, I like getting in front of people and doing what I do. It's what I've always done since I was a little boy. I've been performing in front of people since I was 10 years old, and I've been DMing since I was 12, and they're just two things that come naturally for me. So it's the same way, doing it for you guys. It's a small performance. The bigger the performance, the more energy I can bring in, the more I can feed off of that energy. And when you got people talking in chat, sometimes they have great ideas too. So if I'm doing this thing live, like recording it, hopefully I can do it live and have people watching us do it live. That would be my preferred thing.
Okay, gotcha. Jack?
For me, I would definitely say I would prefer it live in person. Like I miss that. Before the pandemic, my one group, who again, some of them are in the chat, we got together at my place and before the pandemic, and I miss that a lot. Like now we do Discord. No one's really using cam, so like, and I can't imagine GMing like that, because it's sort of like I love seeing the reactions. I love seeing like people play off each other based on like someone's like, oh, you're like, wait, what was that again? Was that a gasp or was that an audio problem? It's like,
you're able to see that. Yeah,
and I love like the reaction, especially as a GM. So yeah, I would definitely prefer in person because that's where some of like the purest videos. Like actually, Facebook just reminded me of a memory because Facebook does that.
Yes, yes.
Of a fun situation with that same group where one of the players, who is our current dungeon master, just broke out in song. He was playing a bard. He's amazing at improv song work, and he started singing, and it was amazing. And it was just that energy in the room. Like it's amazing. And I feel like some of that's lost, at least with having like no cams or anything like that. Like cams help, but that energy in person is totally different.
Yeah, that's true.
I see that reflected in a lot of what I read as far as social media, that a lot of people miss the in-person experience. The one thing that the internet has opened up to us as TTRPG gamers is we're able to still connect with some of us. I can't speak for everyone, but a lot of people started in their teens, started with people they grew up with, and of course we all grew up. We grow up, we move, we go away. So I'm really I like the in-person gaming. I'm thankful to be able to play online as well. So, and that's just from a player standpoint. I could see DMing. I would rather DM in person those two. So.
I get the question now. Jack's answer was very succinct. I
Oh.
totally missed the whole point of the question in the beginning. That's why I'm here, though.
It's fine.
It's good, man.
Yeah, I'd say it's just definitely something for just seeing the faces, even as a player. Just seeing like when your GM gets like that like devilish smile, like something's big's about to happen, and you're just like, oh no. Like there's like a build up to that. There's like like a beautiful communication of language with body language and just like facial expression, and it's great, but you work with what you can get.
Yeah. And we smile and try to make the best of everything as well, and it works out. It works out oftentimes good, and
I mean, that's where doing a podcast becomes interesting because you also don't have that visual.
Yeah.
So it's definitely much harder when you got your headset on, you're removed from the live scene, you're playing over the internet, you're recording it, making sure everybody's recording at the same time, and all the things that go into it. And then it's like, now we're on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And the chat's actually bringing up a good point. It's like, with online, it makes it possible, for example, like us to play because we're all from all over the place.
That's
and
true.
It's, great that we can now have that. It's just, again, in person though, it's just so much fun. One day we'll somehow make that work with the Even Footing Games crew.
Yeah, I'd love to play an in-person game with the Even Footing Games crowd.
That would be great. Maybe though. Now, see, I'm a technology guy, and maybe VR will bring this ability to us one day.
Hey, VR does have some interesting things if you got the right setup.
I enjoy it. Not to get too much off the topic, but yeah, man, I love doing VR. My favorite thing about VR is the creativity that being able to be there in a 3D space. I never was someone who could either afford or had the room for paints and easels and stuff, but being able to go into a virtual space and play around with oils, or even more so go into a virtual space to do 3D modeling and stuff. I dig the creation side of VR. Back to the
Oh no! Real quick aside, real quick little story. I got a Oculus Quest for my birthday last January. I returned it like a week later because I couldn't stand doing any of the social stuff. Because something about like I was in this lobby where you're supposed to be watching stuff on TV, like like a watch party.
Yeah.
And I swear I went to like 20 different types of ones, and every single one was filled with like just screaming people, or like just people there to just troll the hell out of you. I went to a Bob Ross watching room, and I had my model look like me, and someone just looked over at me, made their avatar appear next to me, and then pointed at me, and it was just a little kid saying, "Hey, you big bald bit," and and I'm like, okay, that's it. I'm returning this. I wanted this for the social experience, and but if I used it for tabletop RPGs, I'm sure that'd be better with a designated group.
Yeah, exactly. Designated, a more curated, because I've been in the same thing where you jump in there and you're ready to do something fun, and then there's like just chaos ensues, and you're like, okay. But they got creative stuff. You're by yourself, for the most part. They're doing a lot of multiplayer, so if you got friends or something that you can get together with, you can do smaller stuff. But
yeah, I'll probably get another VR headset when the PlayStation 2, when the PlayStation VR 2 comes out. But anyway,
back to podcast chat.
Yeah, back to podcasting.
Jim's just sitting here like, okay, man, you guys are.
Yeah,
he's like VR headset. What's a VR headset?
What's that?
I don't know about these things. I use a pencil and paper to play games.
But I will say, in regards to digital, and also this helps for podcasts, is making sure you have the correct tools in place for podcasting to can actually change depending versus live play. Where I make Excel sheets that basically do a lot of the math for the players to try to help speed things along. Because one thing with the podcast is like, yeah, people like to hear the mechanical stuff, but they don't want to hear all of the mechanical stuff.
Yes.
And something like Cortex, for example, well, you're going through a lot of, okay, well, I'm picking that aspect die, that value die, that attribute die. I think that's that. Okay, now I'm going to use that asset. Okay, I roll. All right, I'm picking those two dice, and I'm picking that as an effect. And it's just, if you try to have the right tools to speed that up, it helps the players and the viewing and the listening party, and to just try to speed things along and have fun.
Yeah. So and that I agree with that. A lot of it is theater of the mind as well. But there are VR TTP virtual RPG stuff available. I mean, there's like Roll20 and there's Source 4 or Forge or something along those lines. But it's not always necessary for a more narrative kind of game. You don't really need to see where you are on the map, and calculate, okay, I can move 15, feet kind of thing and attack. So, but those tools are out there, and using the proper tool for the system is an important part. Is what I'm taking away from it.
Oh yeah, definitely. And for, again, podcasts, it's always just good to have anything that speeds up the process.
Gotcha.
Well, like our chat just said, I'm sure that's probably Aaron saying she cuts out most of the mechanical talk, especially for Cortex. And it's kind of understandable.
Yeah.
That's one thing with like Babies and Broadswords and the potential system is you guys have done an amazing job of making sure that is, quick. It's quick to resolve a situation. It's quick to resolve a conflict. Cortex, that's one of the main things I have. I don't have too much problems with Cortex, but that's one of them, is that it just takes so long to like get a roll ready. I've had one player, not with the podcast, but in a home game, say, I completely forgot what I was rolling for. Hold on, what?
Because they get so deep in the dice selection and all that. Yeah, that's funny.
That is funny. But there are those there are those giant systems that you have to hear. What was it? Used to be Champions was one of those ones I had a lot of time with.
Yeah, I've heard stories of Champions. I haven't played it, but I've heard stories.
A fun game. It's fun to play superheroes, okay? But Champions was one of them ones where it's like, man, making your character, you're going to have to sit down, you're going to need a calculator, and a bunch of, plenty of time to do so. And that's and I agree, that's one of the cool things about Babies.
Silverfist in the chat, who actually is a player that I do with on Thursday nights, and also as a fellow player in a different game, Yeah, he loves dice. You give him as many dice as possible, he's all over it. So he loves Cortex because he's like, wait, I get to use how much dice? I'm like, fill
Fistful
your
of
hand.
dice.
I'm like,
And-
pick all the numbers that make sense.
That may be one of the things that detract people from playing online as well, is because you don't have that. I mean, people, I
the
got a
textile
bag.
dice, yeah.
I got a bag of, a bag of dice, and we all love our. I mean, we're TTRPG gamers. We all love our dice, and just clicking the button sometimes is kind of like,
Yeah.
Especially
it's
when
not
you're
as
rolling
satisfying.
poorly.
Which with Babies and Broadswords and Potential, it's very easy for us to just do the roll normally.
Oh yeah.
And just say what it is. We trust each other, and
Oh,
it's
yeah.
just one die. Cortex, I had to bring in the bot, which I'm sure it gets edited out, us fooling around with the bot, because you're seriously rolling like 6 die at a time. And I also have to see it so I know what you're rolling for effect. I have to know what they're using the plot points for, so I have to see it all. So that's one where it's like, yeah, you really, even online, you have to use a bot.
Doesn't translate well.
It does not translate.
Now, I've played in Jimmy game. Just from the chat, somebody's asking, "What are you rolling, Jimmy?" And I've played on the receiving end of Jim's games. And is your die anywhere where you can reach? Because I need to see it. I've never seen it, but every time, all you'll hear is blam, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, oh, Jim's rolling for something, and we're all sitting there just waiting.
You fail. All right.
But I just imagine it this, like, 3-pound steel die. It's like blam, blam, blam. Like,
I got
oh,
one
no.
of those, pretty much.
Yeah, when we
Also
play
for-
D&D, I like to use metal dice because that way when I roll, you guys know it.
When we're doing
recording or
Babies and
anything.
Broadswords, I use these guys here. They're metal D6s.
Oh, those are beauties.
But I roll them on a cushioned surface so you wouldn't hear it. But I used metal, and I also got some stone ones because Thwompkins.
Nice.
Thwompkins the gargoyle. I gotta
Oh,
have
yeah.
gotta have some minerals in those guys.
Very nice. Well, guys, we've been here for an hour, just about, and I think we've covered everything that we wanted to. So now is the time to say goodbye.
Well, before I do, I will say, very much look forward to Crawl of Cthulhu, especially
yes.
the art in it. I have been concocting some really interesting images
Yes.
based on the descriptions I was given. And I gotta say, some of those descriptions were pretty freaking wild.
Let's
I'm
take a
sitting there
minute to
like,
talk
I have
about
to
that.
draw what?
How
And
is
I
that?
went and I did it.
The
And I've been told with disturbing success.
Yes, I got to see the evolution of one of them without giving too much away. The many-legged thing was a wonderful thing to see come together.
bizarre.
That was
Yeah. Working
man,
out how
that's
to
gonna be
draw
very cool.
that many baby legs
that had been.
without spending a whole 2 days doing it. Nope, I figured out a trick and it worked.
Yeah, it worked wonderfully.
But
So,
definitely
yeah.
look forward to that. Also, I did the art on the Honey Heist. Check that out. I tried to copy some watercolors and whatnot digitally. That was fun. And Babies and Broadswords, I did a lot of the art in there too.
Yes.
So definitely check those out.
And you
And
can
the podcast.
find, we have a podcast. Find us on social media. Any there, we're on. If you're a TikTok person, we got TikTok. If you like, what's the one? Twitter, we're on Twitter.
Twitter,
Instagram. Yeah, Instagram is like one of the big things. So definitely find us, follow us, and I'm going to do the shameless begging. If you're watching this now, currently, or in the future, on our Twitch stream or
100
our
Acre Heist, not Honey Heist.
Okay.
Sorry. Let me correct that. 100 Acre Heist.
But if you are watching, please do give us a like, give us a follow. It helps us out tremendously. Currently on Twitch, we're working to hit affiliate goals. So we'd love to see you there. I would love to see you personally on Twitch. I do the 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. Afternoon decaf on weekdays, and I'd like to have somebody to talk to. So if you're bored, I know everybody's at work, but if you're home, if you have the day off and want to hang out, definitely come on by and check that out. And I will mention one again, Babies and Broadswords. 100 Acre Heist, a literary adventure for Babies and Broadswords. And coming up, Crawl of Cthulhu. That's what we have out and what is coming up soon. We're going to have more things coming out as time goes on, and you can find that on Amazon.com as well as Drive Through RPG. We got to take off, fellas. I'm Mike. I'm the new guy with Even Footing Games. I was happy to be here and lucky to be able to talk to some wonderful people.
I'm Jimmy St. James with Even Footing Games. I am the mechanics, numbers, and chill guy. Thanking you for coming out tonight.
And I'm Jack Brabson, the art director and current lore bender of Season 2 of Even Footing Games Presents Avatar: The Last Airbender.
And we'll see everyone next week, 8 p.m. for System Overload. You guys have a good evening.